Hello everyone, it's Simon from Gateshead Unison here, and I'm hosting another one of our Zoom meetings that we hope will help you out at home and at work. The subject for this week is highlighting the work of the Domestic Abuse Support Service team at Gateshead Council, and I have two excellent guests to help me do that. First of all, I have Jez Greenwood. How are you, Jez?
I'm fine, thank you. Nice to be here, Simon.
Good to have you. And also we have Vanessa Mitchell-Curry. How are you, Vanessa?
I'm fine, thank you. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning to you too. Uh, Either one of you wants to go first. Can you tell me what your jobs entail?
Oh, shall I
No.
jump in? Okay, so the domestic abuse team is part of Gateshead Council. We're part of Children's Services, though primarily we work with adults, and it's our role really is to support people living in difficult situations and to try to help them come to safety. I guess our key role is to help people be safe, help them making safe choices, and support a future kind of life where they're feeling safe and no longer at risk of domestic abuse.
Mm-hmm. And what about you, Vanessa? What does your job entail? Is it the same thing, or
Yeah,
are the
both
specifics
Jess and I
different?
are domestic abuse workers within the specialist support team.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, our main priority is keeping people safe and obviously not experience further abuse.
Yeah.
And obviously we do that. I mean, it takes as long as it takes. It can take, you can have clients for a couple of months. Sometimes I've got one I think I've nearly had for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
But just as long as you need it with them, just to highlight them to the issues and the problems within relationships, and what is a healthy relationship and what isn't a healthy relationship.
So what's the definition of that? Because what constitutes as domestic abuse?
Well, there's legal definitions, which is how the government would describe them is that domestic abuse is an incident or a pattern of incidents of controlling, coercive, or threatening behaviour, violence, or abuse between those aged 16 or over who are or have been intimate partners or might be family members. And that is regardless of their gender or sexuality. And it often encompasses a number of things, and that's either psychological, physical, sexual, financial, or emotional abuse. And to be honest, that's quite wordy. Having that description, but people may quite often one of the roles that myself and Vanessa and the rest of the team will have is people will be living in a situation where they often don't recognize some of those behaviors, and it can take a lot of time. People, that from studies, what we understand is that it can take a number of years for people to understand what's going on. They can often try to leave a relationship several times before they successfully do so. And then at different points along that journey, they may be more at risk than others. So the legal definition and description of what it is can fit, might feel very different for somebody who's in a relationship who isn't quite sure about some of the things that are going on. And I think often the calls that we get in, they're kind of formed in questions that I'm not quite sure, but these things are happening and it doesn't feel right, and it's making me feel worried, and I'm not quite sure what it's about. So sometimes it can take a little while for people to kind of have an idea that actually what's going on is abusive. And sometimes it's been going on for several years. Sometimes it can be quite a short term. It could be I think the shortest relationship that I've seen that we supported personally was about 3 days. It ramps up really quickly. And then some of the other people that I've supported have been in their 80s and they've had a relationship for 30, 40, 50 years. So it's both ends of the spectrum can be really worrying, and some of those behaviours can get quite ingrained.
Of course, it's more prevalent nowadays as well, since everybody is working in their domestic environments more and more. It's not just a thing where you can go to work to escape from it if you're in like such a bad situation like that. I
Yeah,
imagine you guys have had your hands more full recently.
yeah. I've had a few clients who've, because they've been in the home together, have noticed behaviours that they weren't that comfortable with.
Hmm.
And obviously they're thinking, oh, there's something not quite right here. But because they're spending more time together in the home, but then there's a flip side on that, because they're spending more time in the home, they aren't getting out to actually speak to people about the issues and problems within their relationship. So it does work, unfortunately, both ways. And actually, a couple of my clients, the lockdown is working quite well for the perpetrators not to get in touch with them because of the restrictions.
Hmm.
So there's quite a lot of things going on there with regards to the current lockdown.
Of course, yeah.
No, I totally agree, Vanessa. I think at the start of the lockdown last year, the people who were supporting a lot of my clients felt that it was a lot safer because suddenly restrictions in movement had been put in place. So it did mean that people were kind of like legally bound, and it was easy to spot people who were out and about. So I think it did, to some degree, it supported a lot of people quite positively. But then the long period of lockdown, those relationships where it might have just been going along, but the sudden where people have been kind of almost forced to spend that time together, I think then lots of people have experienced the sudden controlling behaviours by people where, and they've kind of felt this isn't right, and because of that, I've experienced more where people have emailed into the service because they're living in close proximity with somebody, and it's difficult to kind of make phone calls because their phones might be checked. So they've snatched times where they've emailed in and asked for support. So we've been able to kind of broker support in different ways, to make sure that people can access the service in a safe way.
So, what is that email address, Jez, if people want to get in touch?
Oh, again, if you give me 1 second, I
Yeah, no
will.
problem. I just written down the phone number here as well. So
No.
it's a 24-hour helpline, 0191 433 3333. So all the threes, pretty much.
Isn't it CWL, domestic abuse?
Yeah, I was gonna read it out. So,
I'm trying to think of it off the top of my head. CWL,
yeah.
domestic abuse, gateshead.gov.uk.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Vanessa. So those are a couple of ways that you can get in touch with the domestic abuse support team. What support is there out there, and how can people get it in these circumstances?
Well,
Go on, Jazz, I'll let you go. You're off.
I think it's entirely tailored to the client's needs. So, for instance, if somebody is only able to email conversations to start with because it's totally unsafe for them to talk, then we would be offering safety advice. And if you imagine, we support people who are living in relationships with an abusive partner, or they might be separated. They might have been separated for several years, but suddenly they've, some behaviours have escalated. So we work with people who are able to have conversations with us, and we work with people who it's incredibly difficult. So our needs and the work is always tailored to how they are able to work with us safely. And we might have safe words. So if they're living with somebody and we're having a conversation, we would be able to say, at the beginning, we would negotiate a way of saying, well, if that person walks in a room and we have to end the conversation, it might be a code word or it might be a phrase where we understand what's happening. So we can end the call and we know that it's safe. We understand what's going on. So it's negotiated with the person about how that contact might happen. Mm-hmm. We are slowly doing more face-to-face meetings with people again, and that again, if it's not safe to meet somebody in a family home, we can meet people in the community, we can meet people in the civic, we can meet people in places that's suitable for them and safe for them to be. So all of those things are negotiated with the client. We don't have any set way that this is what we do and this is how we do it. It's entirely about what is appropriate, what is safe, what is that person able to do. And again, at the start, if somebody's really unsure about what's going on and they don't feel safe, it might take several weeks before we're able to fully have a conversation with them. And that's okay. That's okay. If somebody doesn't talk to us for a couple of weeks, we wouldn't just immediately go, right, there, we have to close. We wait, we offer the time, we offer safe ways of contact to enable that to continue. And then I guess that's the discussions that we might have, or how we might have the discussions, but then it could be all sorts of things that we would do, again, entirely dependent on the client's needs. It might be offering legal support, so engaging with solicitors. It could be supporting people to go through the court processes, either civil courts or the criminal courts. It could be offering support to actually go into court with clients. It could be offering direct support for the children. It could be housing services. It could be linking in with the housing teams to try to support people to move into different accommodation. It could, I think that the list kind of goes on and on. A lot of the work that we do is around emotional support and allowing people. I think one of the things that is a constant when we're working with people, certainly for myself, is that clients often say, this is the first time I've been believed. This is the first time I've been able to talk about my experiences and that people believe me, because so much doubt has been sown by the abusive partner, saying that no one will listen, no one will believe you, they'll only listen to me, I'm going to have the children taken away, I'm going to do this, all your parents support me, all of those things. So they don't feel believed. So having that, I think that's a constant thread, that this is the first time people have listened. This is the first time I feel that people believe what's going on. And from that, then often that's a huge step for a client, that they then may feel that they want to take further action and take further steps to stay safe.
Is there anything you would like to add to that, Vanessa?
I think with regards to the lockdown, it's been a challenging time for us because we've had to start working from home and rethink how we work, because it wasn't the normal office 9 to 5 sort of role we were doing, because we're now working in our homes, which I think it's given us a bit more flexibility to work, because obviously you can, like Jez was saying, clients can be difficult to get a hold of. Some people work, so you can ring them after 5 o'clock and that's okay. So you can juggle your diary around the client's needs and when the best time is to contact them. So it has, in some ways, it's made us think on our feet and work in a different style, in a different way, which I think has proved to be quite productive. Work has not stopped. We've continued doing what we should be doing. There's been no big issues. We've just kept doing what we should be doing. I mean, it was a bit hard because of the face-to-face visits maybe haven't happened as much as you normally would. And sometimes it's better with clients to meet face-to-face to gauge things better than over the telephone. That's the only negative on the phone, you can't really tell what they're actually saying because you can't see their faces to gauge things slightly better. I think we've struggled and managed on. We've got there in the end. IT problems and things are normal stuff, but we've got there.
And I think, I agree with developing new kind of working practices that can support. We deliver a couple of programs, group programs to support survivors, and they originally they were done face to face, but we've had to come up with ways of delivering those things via Teams. And actually, I think in many respects they've been quite successful. The feedback has been really positive from participants. Some do. I mean, I think it's fair to say that some clients are very clear that they quite like to do face-to-face group sessions, because it's often the first time, meeting a professional who has some sort of understanding about what's going on is one thing, but meeting other participants where they have also experienced similar behaviours. Often it's the first time where they've been in a space where it's safe to talk about those behaviours with other people. And it's really it's very rewarding as a facilitator, and to see those kind of those connections that get made with people who suddenly feel empowered, because they truly understand they're not alone. They truly understand that they're not alone, and that's really rewarding and really empowering for the participants.
Excellent to hear. So again, it's important to emphasize that these services are a safe space. They are confidential and also, as we've demonstrated, very flexible. So help is available even in very small ways. Gateshead Council's domestic abuse helpline, like I said, is open 24 hours a day. You can call it an 0191 433 3333. That email address was, remind me, Vanessa?
CWL, probably got a dot, cwl.domesticabuseteam@gateshead.gov.uk.
Wonderful, thank you. So either of
So if
those
you Google
methods,
it, you'll find it.
yeah, fantastic. So either of those methods, you can get the advice and support in any shape or form that you want from the fantastic team that we've got at Gateshead Council. We hope that today's session has been enlightening and will help some people out. So until next time, thanks from all of us for watching. Cheers.
Okay.